A United States senator that represents the state of Tennessee. What do you say to that?
You know, Chuck, I don't have a clue of what she just said.
Well, we're going to find out. Dr. Fauci is reacting to what Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn said about his handling of the coronavirus. She's going to join us later to discuss her response.
Yeah, we're going to get into that right now with the panel and get some reaction. Now, this was an interesting exchange that played out on national television yesterday. You've got the indomitable Dr. Anthony Fauci, 80 years old. He's been, right there. It's front and center for the last 15 plus months. So 15 minutes of fame has been 15 months of fame. And you've got him calling out a U.S. senator, and then that U.S. senator has the opportunity to call him out and respond this morning on our show. So let's get into that with the panel right now. I call this a powerhouse panel because it really is. Former Nevada State GOP chairwoman and Republican strategist Amy Tarkanian is here. Senior contributor for The Federalist Benjamin Weingarten is here. Always great having Benjamin with us. And former Trump campaign aide Rick Gates is here as well. So I'm going to set this up for you, and then we'll get some reactions. So there are three senators, Tom Cotton, Marco Rubio, Marsha Blackburn, who are now calling for Dr. Fauci to be fired. They say he has lost the confidence of the American people. Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn posted a video to her social media accounts sort of elaborating on that. And then yesterday, Chuck Todd on Meet the Press asked Dr. Fauci to respond, and Dr. Fauci unsurprisingly took the bait. So I'm going to play the Marsha Blackburn video for you first, then we'll get Dr. Fauci's full response, and then we'll all break this down. Take a look.
It was Dr. Fauci and his agency that wrote that check, sent that money to the Wuhan Institute of Virology to do this coronavirus research.
How do you debunk something like that? She's got it in her own head. Again, a United States senator that represents the state of Tennessee. What do you say to that?
You know, Chuck, I don't have a clue of what she just said. I don't have a clue of what she's talking
Neither
about.
did we.
I mean, welcome to the club. I have no idea what she's talking about. And I'm sorry, I don't want to be pejorative against a United States senator, but I have no idea what she's talking about.
And I don't want to be pejorative against the good doctor, but she's talking about the $600,000 grant that the NIH gave to the Echo Health Alliance, which then went to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which went to possibly gain-of-function coronavirus research, okay? That's exactly what she's talking about. Benjamin, you first. I'm going to let everyone get in on this.
Well, there are two elements to this clip that are really remarkable. The first is, and it should be unsurprising at this point, that the corporate media is basically running interference for the bureaucracy, and that's just a shameful abdication of what the media is supposed to stand for. But I think the media thinks of itself now as an extension of the state, and we should think of it that way going forward. Corporate media, of course. Then on the Dr. Fauci side of things, first of all, the Napoleonic complex that he demonstrates in every single one of these interviews, and he basically says, you can't challenge me because I am science personified. Well, no, he's hiding behind science to cover up for the political positions that he took again and again, the lack of transparency that he's shown, the fact that he's flip-flopped on almost every single vital issue with respect to the coronavirus response, and that he doesn't want to take any responsibility for it whatsoever. So I'd say he's the perfect example of everything that's wrong with powerful government bureaucrats, unelected, unaccountable to the people. And his reaction shows you that he has no substantive response because he can't defend the fact that American money, it appears, did go to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, likely to gain-of-function research, and that you can draw a straight line from that to the pandemic that we've all labored under as a consequence of the policies that he helped foist on this country for over the last year.
Benjamin, I'm going to let that one, I'm going to lay out for a second. That was it. That is the most succinct version of what's going. You're getting a slow clap right here at Newsmax from the crew and Rachel and I. I wish that Chuck Todd said a tenth of that yesterday, just to get the look on Dr. Fauci's face. But I agree. Rick Gates, your response.
Well, the fact that Dr. Fauci, to add on to what Ben said, had an opportunity to come out and vigorously defend against the claim and the charge, and he didn't do it, usually is a good indication that you don't have a defense. And I think, the idea that Fauci is behind a lot of the inexact science and a lot of the misinformation that has been directed at the American people is a good indication that he has a lot to answer for. He's got a lot to defend. I think the more that we get into the weeds, the idea that there are emails between him and Mark Zuckerberg, a lot of this information that's going to come out, I think is going to shed a lot of new evidence and new information that Fauci is going to be on the hook and held accountable for. So I think as we unfold all this, unpack it, there's a lot more there. And I'd say the only thing that Fauci's been really remarkable at is flip-flopping consistently. And that's been kind of his mantra thus far. Former President Trump, I think, nailed it. He's a better promoter than he is a scientist.
Yeah. Amy, I want you to listen to a quick soundbite yesterday. Dr. Fauci, I think, we asked this question Monday on the show. I said, do you think that Dr. Fauci is even aware that there are people that are not so enamored of him anymore? People are not so thrilled with him right now. And it seems like there are. Take a listen. He's talking about the possibility of him getting fired. Take a listen.
That issue with masks is people want to fire me or put me in jail for what I've done, namely follow the science. I could go the next half an hour going through each and every point that they make. It's preposterous.
And you hear Chuck Todd saying, I know, Amy. And, we all do that sometimes to throw away crutch phrase. But here's the thing. Okay, Dr. Fauci, you told fully vaccinated people to wear masks. All right, I could pick that apart like a litigator. And then 2 weeks after you said, well, wait a second, you can take them off. It turns out that the vaccine's actually good. It works. That confused people, Amy. And that's just a tiny speck of the misinformation that's come out of his mouth.
Correct. And what they like to do is divert, deny, and deflect. And that's exactly what we're witnessing. And when he says, I don't mean to be pejorative to the senator, that reminds me of when someone says, well, no offense. And then what do they follow that with? Something offensive.
Right.
The fact that he's also claiming he didn't understand. He's playing coy and dumb. So then that way he can try to wiggle his way out of actually having to divulge everything that Ben listed.
Right, right. That's like when somebody says, hey, I don't mean to be mean, but...
Yeah, and they're mean.
I'm about to be really mean. All right, I had an interaction yesterday with somebody from the WHO, and I applaud this person, Jamie Metzel from the World Health Organization Advisory Committee. So somebody who's pretty prominent within the World Health Organization has been making the media rounds. I feel like they're sort of trying to rehab the image of the WHO over the last year and a half. We were talking about this being a possible lab leak, and I had to stop the interview in the middle of the interview just because the language that was being spun. This is the same gentleman that was featured on 60 Minutes on Sunday night. Take a listen. I feel like Tedros running WHO would be like if we pulled the Titanic up from the bottom of the sea and let Captain Smith take it back to New York.
Yeah,
I feel like that's what Tedros running the WHO right now is like.
Yeah, Rob, that's just wrong. Look at the record. I invite you and your viewers to go to my jamiemetzel.com website. Judge for yourself, but Tedros is actually a hero of this story. The problem is there was a terrible, while the United States was essentially
I would be careful with the word hero. History will judge that word harshly. I'm not certain that Dr. Tedros is going to be looked at as a hero when it comes to the coronavirus. Okay, so here's the thing. Dr. Tedros is the WHO's Dr. Fauci. And this is somebody that the CCP approved of, Rick, in 2017. They backed him. He's got a terrible record when it comes to some of the atrocities in Africa. And this is somebody that is still running the WHO. And he called him a hero. 3+ million people that we know about have died worldwide from the coronavirus. I don't know if you can call him a hero.
Certainly not a hero. And I think, to your point, history is going to judge not just Dr. Tedros, but all of them at the WHO. It's lost, extreme amount of credibility. It's got no foundation to stand to make a lot of the claims that it continues to make with respect to coronavirus. What is that going to do for future viruses? How are people going to react to, WHO? Former President Trump pulled funding for a number of reasons related to where that funding was going, what it was being used for. The fact that during the investigation into COVID, that the Chinese, the Communist Party of China and the government there was basically running to a lot of claims by various individuals. And again, just going back to the simple science, if we can't rely on an international body to help us get through a pandemic, what is going to happen the next time around? If we're not prepared for it, and clearly we're not based on who has demonstrated, it's going to create even further problems, and who knows what consequences it could have further down the road.
Yeah, pun intended. And here's the thing. It's what's next, because this 90-day investigation is going to be over before you know it. And then what? Then what do we do? What does the Biden administration do? That'll be the big question, especially if China continues to stonewall us with regard to that lab investigation. Panel, we'll pick this back up on the other side. Looking forward to it. Great stuff. Benjamin, enjoy it. As always, we'll see you guys moments. Amy, Rick. Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.